Hey, this is Rabbi Dan Selsberg at Temple Shalom in Bridgewater, New Jersey. And this is a talk I'll give tomorrow on Rosh Hashanah called Booster Shot. There's an old joke. I got this from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zichrono Livracha. There's an old joke about two Jews on a train. This is way back in the old country, pre-war. Young man, older man. They don't know each other. And the young man asks the old man for the time. The old man doesn't say anything. Young man asks again. Total silence from the old man. Asks again. Still the silent treatment. Young man asks, what's going on? I'm asking you a simple question. You're acting like I'm not here. Well, the guy says, look, friend, I'll tell you why I'm not answering. This next stop is the last stop on the line. We're going to the same place. If I answer, we'll start talking. We'll get to know each other. I'll feel obligated to invite you over to my home for dinner. You're a good-looking man. I've got a beautiful daughter about your age. You'll fall in love. You'll want to marry each other. And tell me, smart guy, why would I want a son-in-law who can't even afford a watch? There's a lot we can say about that joke. It may not be so woke, though I'm not going to unpack every angle. But the joke is that the guy is taking the long view of things, the super long view. Maybe a few unnecessary assumptions about what is likely to follow from a small, simple interaction, but a robust understanding of the law of unintended consequences, knowing that sometimes, though you intend to do something small, it can have significant consequences. And part of the joke is that there's a common Jewish trait of taking the long view. I'm not here to endorse train-based matchmaking or making improbable assumptions, but I am here to endorse the long view of things, the super long view. I'm here to say that to be a rabbi, maybe to feel fully a part of the Jewish community, I need to be here in a synagogue with the congregation. I need to know that you're here, if you're far or if you're near, in our home here with me or in your own home with us in spirit. I'm here to say that I don't know exactly how or why, but I know that the call of the shofar calls us together, connects us, binds us to generations past and yet to be, and to the Holy One of Blessing. And that a new year is a time to pause and take stock of where we have been, where we are, and where this train might be going. I'm here to say it's been a hard year. And I expect more of the same. And I'm here to say that I am weary. Maybe you are too. There are a lot of reasons. There are the burdens that we all share, concern over the increase in extreme weather incidents we've seen with the floods, concern about the fissures in our society over an unusually bumpy period for democracy, concern for the well-being of our brothers and sisters in Israel, concern for the well-being of innocents in Afghanistan and elsewhere. Personal things. We all have dark clouds gathered overhead from the last year. Many of you know that my son Eitan celebrated becoming a bar mitzvah this past spring, but most of our community, even my own parents, weren't able to come. That sort of attenuated occasion takes an emotional toll. It's nice for grandparents to watch a bar mitzvah on Zoom, but we all know it's not quite the same. So as we turn the page on this most unusual year, I can't help be honest. We've lost a lot. We've missed a lot. And I am weary. Maybe that's why Rosh Hashanah is early this year. It's time to hit refresh. So after a year and a half of this pandemic, I need a booster shot. I need a booster shot of hope, and maybe you do too. I need a booster shot of hope to get me through this long, unwanted walk through the valley of the shadow of COVID. We're at risk of suffering a lockdown of the spirit, a lockdown of the soul, physically distancing, leading to spiritually distancing. For isolation and loneliness are themselves potentially harmful. And this year I'm here because the blessing of digital technology has both helped us navigate this pandemic and adjust to an altered reality. Yet we can't forget that despite this blessing, we cannot confuse pixels for people. We're a broad community who have had many different ways of experiencing this unusual period in history, but for many of us, it has not been easy and will continue to be more difficult than we'd like. We all live day to day. There are times to take the short view, like the young man just looking to know the time. But for the strength to make it through each individual moment, we do so in part by taking the long perspective. As a people, we've navigated the tides of history, under frequently quite difficult circumstances by remembering the long view and balancing it with our short-term needs. Through centuries of oppression, poverty, powerlessness, social tumult, technological changes, wars, famine, and yes, pandemics, Jews have not only survived, but often flourished, in part by remembering the long view. From the time that the Torah teaches that a transcendent voice said that Abraham and his descendants, which is you and me, would be partners in an eternal covenant, binding us to what is just and right, to bring blessing to all the families of the earth, that we have dug down deep to find the strength to endure, knowing that there is a more important mission. That's both the short view. There's something you can do today that furthers the effort to do what is right and just, and the long view. The long view is key. And in the striking piece of Torah that we read tomorrow morning, there's a hint of this. The Rosh Hashanah is themed to big and bold ideas that God is sovereign over all that exists, that we are called to account for our decisions and words and actions, that we are to lead lives of responsibility and meaning. The story from the Torah that we read on Rosh Hashanah is one of conflicted decision-making, of a family being torn apart, of jealousies and prejudices and privileges combining to victimize the Egyptian servant Hagar and the child she bore for Abraham, Ishmael. When Hagar and Ishmael are cast out into the desert, when without water and without hope, they are listlessly stuck. God, at this point in time, has a covenant with Abraham. And compared to the protagonists of our story, Hagar and Ishmael seem like collateral damage. They collapse and they weep as Hagar physically, spiritually distances herself from her son so that she need not watch him die. It is then that God takes notice and an angel calls out to them, telling Hagar to fear not, al tiri. She is told to take Ishmael by the hand. Kumi se'i et hana'ar v'chachazeki et yadcha bo. Literally translated, get up, lift up the boy, and strengthen your hand in his. The wording is odd. Strengthen your hand in his. The next mysterious line, Yiftach Elohim et aneh b'tirah be'er mayim. God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and she filled her bottle with water and let the boy drink. Was this a miraculously created well, or was the well there all along, and she couldn't see it, blinded by her hopelessness? Is it that once she was able to overcome her fear, overcome a sense of despair at her situation, she could take a deep breath and see a way out? That the path forward was in no way apparent until she strengthened her hand in the hand of another. Then she could see. When her first act was to get water for her son, before she even drinks herself, her eyes are opened. This is the moment that instructs us. It is hard to see a way out of the desert when hope is a rare commodity. It is hard to point a path forward when we are wringing our hands rather than strengthening our hands in each other's. Why on Rosh Hashanah do we not read a story of God's power or of our own uniqueness as the people of Israel? Why do we read of the struggles of a non-Jewish servant woman and her son? Why focus on difficult family matters? Because it is in hard times that we have to learn to take the long view, to overcome the very real fears of the moment, to strengthen my hand in yours and your hand in mine, and together open our eyes to see past the immediate horizon to a better place. We read this story for a booster shot of hope. We do not always see the well of life-giving water in front of us, and it is together that we find the strength to look. I do not know what the year ahead holds. I do think we have to face it together. For some of us, it is my hope that means we can stand shoulder to shoulder again. For others, it'll mean a longer period of distancing, as prudence indicates. For all of us, I hasten to mention, we should remember that while Jewish law always adapts and has adapted to meet the needs of this pandemic through the use of technologies like Zoom, the law has not changed vis-a-vis vaccines. Jewish law has long indicated that safe and efficacious vaccines are religiously obligatory. It is a mitzvah to v'charta v'chaim, to choose life, and an avera, a sin, to engage in actions that needlessly increase the risk of death for oneself or for others. I say this not because I am an epidemiologist, because I am not, but because halakha, because Jewish law has long deferred to medical consensus. The way out of this desert is to see the life-giving sources around us And we don't mock or deride those who don't see things the way we do, any more than one would mock Hagar for not seeing the well in front of her in her moment of danger. We strengthen our hands in each other's, and we patiently find ways forward together, because it is unacceptable to only see the flaws in others. We all have limited vision, and we all need each other, and we all need a sense of kindness. Ishmael, as God promised, grew into a great nation. And in the story that the great commentator Rosh tells, after Sarah's death, Abraham marries Hagar. You never know what turn life will take. But this is why we're supposed to take the long view and live with a sense of hope. The Jewish people have endured great trials. Our trial is to navigate bringing the best of Jewish tradition and the best of American culture together in this trying moment. There are real threats that surround us. I don't have to list them. It's part of what makes so many of us so weary. And it's understandable to take a dim view of the future. After all, who needs a son-in-law who can't even afford a watch? But by restarting or starting Shabbat dinners with family and friends, building a sukkah and inviting guests, by volunteering around the community, by being the masters of technology instead of letting technology be the masters of us, resisting becoming a commodity, binge learning and imbibing the wisdom of the ages and not just the meme of the moment, that's how we can unmask our best selves and create a 5782 that holds more blessing than the trial-laden year just passed. I've had moments where I've felt overwhelmed, but when I hold the hand of others, literally or otherwise, I can snap out of it. I, for one, have found over the course of this pandemic that there's nothing quite like the presence of a community. So we need to strengthen our hands in each other's. I'll look to you for help, and you can look to me. We can look to each other. That's the booster shot of hope. Our future is not yet written, and though we may long for simpler times, our time is now. Shana Tova Tikatevu. May you and your loved ones be inscribed for a year of boldness and goodness, of health and joy. And may we all be blessed together in Kedusha and holiness, soon and in our days. Shana Tova.